Hello everyone, welcome back to another Tower Heroes video, and today I'm going to be ranking every single tower in the game from worst to best, so you guys can get an idea on the towers in the game and whatnot, and what in my opinion anyway, is the best towers in the game. So without further ado, let's get straight into it actually. So we're going to start off with this handsome floaty boy right here, and I think we're just gonna start him off in the A tier for now. The reason, I mean, that extra range is really handy, especially if you have scientist or, you know, some other long range tower, and the rate increase really isn't that bad. So honestly, it's just a really nice tower to have. Next is this funny robot guy from Robot 64. Bebo. My boy, Bebo. Anyways, I think a solid place for him is also actually the A tier. He has a really large range, and he actually has a really good damage output. He's just overall really solid. Next we have Beatrice, and I actually think she belongs in the C tier. She honestly just isn't that good anymore. Ever since they nerfed Mataki to only heal every summoner like one time, since they nerfed this character, she used to be able to heal summons an infinite amount of times, but now she can only heal every summon once, which sucks for Beatrice because her bees really loved getting healed constantly, but since the bees can only get healed once, it's really hard to just build up bees, and ultimately it's just not that great in my opinion. Next up we have Discount Dog, which I actually think also belongs in the A tier. His ability to really make things 40% cheaper is really good for your team, especially teammates who don't have Lemonade Cat. So ultimately, I think Discount Dog and Balloon Pal are, you know, about the same in value actually. Next, we have Branch. Good old Branch. I think Branch also, man, belongs in A tier. There's a lot of A tiers right now. Maybe too many. But Branch has some good damage. He can do splash damage. And is just good all-around tower. Next up, we have Hot Dog Boy. And I think Hot Dog Boy actually belongs in the B tier. His damage could be a little better. He does do good area damage, but I think there are better towers than Hot Dog Frank. Next up, we have the Bunny, which is available now, by the way. If you don't have the Bunny, go beat Easter Egglin on easy mode. So, I mean, besides being cute, I think he deserves a S. No, I'm just kidding. B tier. I think the Bunny is actually really overrated. Everyone talks about how amazing he is, but even if you have the maximum amount of bunnies, still doesn't do as much damage as I would hope. So, I think B tier is pretty good. Next up, we have good old Hayes from the Halloween event. Good old Scarecrow Boy. I think the A tier is a good spot for him, actually. Even though he's really expensive, his crows can actually do a lot of damage, and they can attack anywhere on the map. And it's just really spicy watching all those crows circle around one guy and just absolutely melt him into pellets, dude. Next up, we have this Boomer that belongs in the F tier. Yeah, sorry. Next up, we have Bite, which can take a bite in the B tier. Yeah, it's funny. We've got the Bunny and Bite in the B tier, which is funny because they both start with B. Bite has received a lot of nerfs and reworks, and I don't know what the developers have against this character. Leave my boy alone. I mean, look how happy he is. He somehow maintains a smile even though he's been changed countless times. Like, I don't know how he does it. Next up, we have Chef, which I actually think also belongs in the A tier. Now, Chef is just really amazing. He can do really good damage at the start of the game, really good damage at the late game. The only problem is he has a short range, but usually, if you have Spectre, he can do almost 500 damage a hit, which is just ridiculous, and he can melt so many guys. Next up, we have Fracture, and I think he actually belongs in the C tier. I'm sorry, I know lots of people who play Tower Heroes love Fracture, but I personally do not. Now, Fracture is a good tower. The problem is he takes up so much space, and not only is he just so ridiculously chunky, like, man, this dude needs to work out more. I can't believe he takes up that much space. So not only does he take up a lot of space, but he only starts doing good damage until he gets, like, he does kind of mediocre damage until he gets to, like, level 4 and 5, so he kind of just sits there taking up space when you could be placing better towers to help out at the start of the game. Next up, we have the Jester, which I think goes in the B tier. Now, the Jester can sometimes be really amazing. He can give you a lot of money, but he can also take away a lot of money. If your teammates have summons, he just absolutely melts everyone's summons, and you'll be the most hated person in the game for using Jester. Like, I know I've used Jester plenty of times. People hate me for it, and I honestly don't care. I love watching their slimes disintegrate into dust, despite the fact that they paid several thousand mana to upgrade that Slime King. But anyways, yeah, can be great at times, but it melts summoners, and, you know, sometimes also steals a lot of money from you. So, you know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I think B tier is pretty good for him. And next up, we have Cart Kid, which I think is actually going to be our first S tier tower. Cart Kid is just really amazing. He can deal, like, tons of damage to tons of guys at once, and he can hit anywhere on the map. He is just really an amazing tower to have, and in many cases can be an absolute lifesaver as well. That damage he deals is just insane, honestly. Next up, we have Lemonade Cat, which I believe also deserves S tier. Now, the reason being is that Lemonade Cat just gives you extra money. I mean, extra money is literally just good, no matter what. You can put Lemonade Cat in pretty much any loadout you have. Next up, we have Oddport Academy, and I actually think he belongs in the B tier. He can do some pretty good damage, but I don't know. His damage could be a little better, and he can only spawn one at a time, so he kind of just chills. He can deal a lot of damage, but you can place other towers, and combined, those other towers combined can do a lot more damage than your Oddport Academy, so I think B tier is pretty good. Although Oddport Academy still is really good, so I would recommend using it if you want to. Next up, we have Scientist, which I believe also goes in the S tier. You just can't go wrong with Science. You cannot argue with Science. Scientist literally works on pretty much any map. You can use Scientist on any map. It does big damage, big range. It's just, I don't know, anything you'd want in a tower. Next up, we have the Slime King, which honestly, man, I'm sorry for you summoner lovers, but C tier, sorry. Slime King, at max level, spawns like 500 HP slimes every, like, what, 12 seconds? I can't remember. So, honestly, that's not that good of damage per second. You could be placing other towers and be dealing way more damage than having a Slime King. Next, we have Soda Pop, which is actually, I mean, look at this child with soda. You wouldn't expect a child with soda to go in the A tier, would you? Neither would I, but I do believe Soda Pop deserves A tier. A tier, dude, Soda Pop is really good. It does area damage, has a pretty good attack speed, pretty good range, and pretty good damage at a pretty good price. Next up, we have Sparks Kilowatt. I think Sparks Kilowatt deserves the A tier. Next up, we have Spectre, and without a doubt, I believe Spectre deserves S tier. I mean, a tower that doubles the damage of all of your towers in a pretty large radius, that's basically like having twice the amount of towers, essentially. Spectre is, like, amazing, and if In a lot of maps, if you don't have Spectre, you'll end up losing because you just simply don't have enough damage. So Spectre, in most cases, in quite a few cases, is a must. So, I don't know, Spectre is just amazing. Double damage. You can't argue with double damage. I mean, everyone wants double damage. I mean, I'm sure you do. I might want double damage. You want double damage. Everyone wants double damage. Next up, we have Stella, which I'm also going to place in the B tier. Stella can generate money, which is nice, but the tower, it's kind of, the selling mechanic is a little weird. The value goes up when they attack once, but it starts going down after they attack. I don't know, it's weird. And then, I don't know, Stella is just a really weird tower, so B tier is good, but Stella can be really good if you know how to use her really well. Next up, we have Vaca, which goes in the C tier. Now, she has insane range. She has the highest range in the game. And if you have Balloon Pal with her, dude, she can hit, like, almost the entire map on most maps. She is, like, pretty good. But her damage per second is actually really low. And her area damage is kind of much to be desired. So I think C tier is pretty good for her. Plus, you know, Soda Pop and other towers that deal area damage kind of just outclass her, in my opinion. Next up, we have Volt, which I actually believe... Okay, I know a lot of people will probably disagree with me here, but I think Volt belongs in the A tier. A lot of people will say something like this: "But Volt is so bad! Oh my goodness, have you seen his damage at max level? He only does like 20 damage." So they completely throw out the window that Volt hits a lot of guys at once. The reason Cart Kid is so great is because Cart Kid hits tons of guys, like, in a single stroke. Volt is basically the same. Volt hits tons of guys in a row, basically making his damage really high because he's hitting all these guys at once. So he's like Cart Kid, although I'd say he's slightly worse than Cart Kid because his range is kind of mediocre and he can't hit the whole map like Cart Kid can. So I think A tier is pretty good for Volt. Next up, we have a Wafer, which I also believe deserves the B tier. Next up, we have the Wizard, which I think belongs in the F tier, and I'm pretty sure most of you guys can agree with me that Wizard really just isn't that great. Next up, we have Yasuke, and I believe Yasuke definitely deserves the S tier. Yasuke does, I'm pretty sure, the most damage in the game. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he does the most damage in the game. He has an ability that increases the damage even more, increases his attack speed even more, and sets enemies on fire, which does even more damage. So Yasuke just does crazy damage, has a bigger range than Chef, and his ultimate, and can really just melt a lot of bosses. Like, Yasuke can basically solo. You can beat quite a few bosses with just Yasuke. Like, as soon as bosses stroll in and they see a line of these guys, he knows he's finished. Like, Yasuke absolutely melts. And next up, we have Mataki, which is going in the A tier as well. Now, Mataki is just a good all-around character. It is not too expensive to place down, has really good poison damage at level 1, can hit camo at level 1, plus heals your summons and gives them more health, and makes your summons do more damage as well, which is just really nice. And we also have Dumpster Child, which I think, honestly, gotta be 100% honest here, B tier. And last but certainly not least, we have Lore, although Lore is not on this tier list, and but I do believe Lore also deserves the A tier right next to Sparks Kilowatt, because Lore is very similar to Sparks Kilowatt. Does lots of damage in the early game, can do lots of damage in the late game. It's just, Lore is basically almost about the same as Sparks Kilowatt. Like, they're both, really good. So yeah, feel free to rant in the comments down below. Tell me how bad this tier list is. And if you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, make sure to leave a like on this video. And if you're new here, why not subscribe so you don't miss out on any other videos like this one? And I will see you in the next video.